Okay, hello everybody. Time for a new tier list, 7.35C. We've let it marinate a few days. We've tried some heroes. We will be ranking everything in game this time. I wanted to try this out. And this is like the worst UI I've ever seen. So the Herald Superstar division's on the right. Very quickly, we're gonna have S tier heroes that, they're basically cheating. You pick them, it feels unfair. There's not like, even if you counter pick them, it doesn't really matter that much. A tier heroes where like, yeah, there's some counter picks, but it doesn't really matter. But you're not gonna like, it's not like completely broken. Those like A tier is basically like top of the list, but S tier means they're even better than that, if that makes sense. No, that wasn't the most articulate, but S tier means like literally cheating, like 40, like 60% win plus heroes. There aren't really many right now. I'm going to put one in there. There's only going to be one S tier hero this patch, but it's fine. B tier heroes you can pick, but you can get countered. Normally at this point in the tier list, you want to start last picking these heroes or making sure they're at least good in the game. Like you don't want to pick it just to play the hero. Should be additional reasoning. C tier is like, okay, they picked Ember mid. I can try Monkey King now. Like you wouldn't pick Monkey King to counter many other heroes. Like it's very situational, or you need last pick because if you get counter picked, you won't have a game. So Ember used to be in that category where if you picked Ember and you got Huskar, the game was just over. Luckily, there's been some buffs to Ember, so it's not really the case right now. D tier, these heroes were like, even if you pick them in the best possible game, you're not gonna like carry the game because it's the hero. You're just picking this hero for fun. You're probably better off not last picking these, but like if there's a bad matchup, it's gonna suck. And F tier is like you pick these heroes because you've been playing them for 10 years, but they suck really bad right now and you just hate yourself and don't want to learn anything else. The 10,000 games of this hero to play it, like hero specialist only tier, something like an Arc Warden or a Meepo, like you, even if Meepo is the best hero in the patch, right? Like you probably need to have played it more than once to actually recognize that potential. Same with like a Tinker or something like that. And then we have the Herald Superstar division. These are like honorable mention type heroes where the lower the MMR you pick these in, the higher up on the list they would be. So just an example, what I'll fill in later, is a hero like Sniper. Sniper mid is somewhat viable, even at my MMR, like 9.5 to 10k MMR. But if you pick Sniper and Herald, you are going to crush. Like, Sniper and Herald goes up to S tier. So, these are the majority of the heroes I picked out for now because I want to pull heroes to pull from. I'll look through the list again once we're done, but we'll start with Dragonite. I think Dragonite's just a B tier hero. Okay, and now he's gone. So that clearly didn't work. We'll just do it this way. I think Dragonite's clearly in the B tier. Before the nerfs to Mage Slayer and the Aghanims, like the slow, I think, and the Mage Slayer resistance happened, he was definitely A tier for sure, off lane or middle. Right now, I think he's just solid. I think you can first pick this hero in competitive play. I think we're seeing that at the most recent LAN, I think Dream League. But people are flexing between off and mid. I have to have one hero in the category? Okay. A tier, let's just fill one in each category. We'll leave the S tier hero for like close to last. So I think Puck is like very clear example of A tier. Even if you get counterpicked, you're gonna have a pretty good game. And the hero like is just so strong. Like very, very strong hero. Get counterpicked. You're gonna be sad when you're counterpicked, but you're still gonna have very nice impact. C tier, we're gonna throw up the good old Monkey King in here. I think you basically have to pick this against specifically Ember Spirit, which there's a lot of this patch, and maybe like a Void Spirit. Otherwise, you can't really pick it at all. So that's a good example of a C tier hero. Picking for fun, we'll throw in like this has been a long time now where Shadow Fiend is pretty much a pick for fun hero. If you want to counter Like the Void Spirit Embers, you can pick Monkey King or Huskar or something. They'll just do a better job most of the time. If you want to just pick the hero to play it, you can. It won't be the worst hero in the game. Like, it's not going to instantly lose you the game, but it's for sure not going to be like the main reason you win. Pick if you hate yourself heroes. We're actually in a spot in the game where I don't feel like there's that many heroes that if you pick mid, you're just going to be griefing yourself. I would say before recent buffs, Leshrac was pretty down there. I need to fill at least one of these heroes, so I need to think a bit. Even Tiny is pretty good these days. I think if there was one hero that like you really don't want to be playing mid right now, I can't really think of a single one. Maybe I'm crazy. A silencer? No. Pugna mid is fine. Rubik mid is fine, honestly, but it was more like play for fun. Like Pugna's a bit better than that. But yeah, like I really like I can't think of a single hero that's that bad, which means like mid lane's in pretty good shape. So I should just leave that empty. As far as hero spammer heroes go, like Tinkers that hasn't really been meta, but very clear example of if you're a Tinker player, it's always because you're a Tinker guy, not because Tinker's a good hero, if that makes sense. Some patches Invokers like that. Invoker's actually in the meta right now, so it's like not that, but yeah. And then the Herald Superstar division, we have our poster boy Sniper, as mentioned previously. Sniper's just the king of low MMR. Honestly, I might double put him because he's kind of situational right now to counterpick Puck, I think I've seen, and maybe even Ember. I think I saw it picked once at the tournament. So we can maybe double pick him, but continue on with the list here. Storm, I think, is a bit more situational these days. Normally I'd have him in B tier. I think he's C plus, B minus. There's so many Pucks and Embers that kind of like ruin your early game a lot of the time. And there isn't really like the items feel really good. There isn't really like that much new stuff he uses other than Parasma and then the Orchid kind of buffed. If there was more Pangoliers, maybe it would be fine. But there's like so many Invokers, Pucks, and Embers that it's more so like the meta hero pool kind of keeps you down. So if you're not seeing those heroes a lot, it'll probably go up in the list for you. But just keep in mind that a lot of his like counters or annoying heroes are just very meta. I think Tiny is also decently situational. I've been playing a decent amount of Tiny with the Conda buff. I think I think Hero's very strong. I think both Storm and Tiny are individually strong, but Tiny has this problem where if your supports don't help you, the early game is really rough. Heroes like Tiny and Void Spirit don't farm neutrals very effectively. Like they can, it's just slow. It's not the same as Puck or Storm or something like that. And if you can't secure some kills, so if you don't have like a Hoodwink or a Techies on your team to follow up your combo, securing kills and getting out of the mid game can be quite a challenge. So kind of pick more situational what your team picks than the other team most of the time. So Zeus, I think I'm going to put in B tier. I think the nerf to Mage Slayer helps him a decent amount, and the Manta build, I feel like it got buffed, but I can't remember. But even the Magic build is okay. Especially now that Ember Spirit doesn't put it on you for 6 seconds, it's not that bad. There's like some windows where you get damage. I tried to play this hero last patch a few times, and the problem I was having was there's always one hero that just hit me once with a Mage Slayer, and I just couldn't do anything for 6 seconds. 3 seconds, much shorter, not a big deal. You'll have a window to cast your spells at least and stay in the back if you choose. And magic damage, despite Mage Slayer and Internal Shroud being so good, is actually quite valuable right now because people are picking, Dragon Knights. They're picking heroes that buy Shivas. Most people prioritize the Veil and Shivas before the Eternal Shrouds. There's like a long time where magic damage is just really strong. Plus, I think Plasma is like one of the best items in the game right now. Void Spirit, I would say, is also like almost identical to Tiny in the role, where like you want the Grimstroke, the Techies, the Hoodwinks on your team to help you get kills in the early game. I think he would be like slightly above Tiny, or it's depends on the heroes, I guess. But the silence from the Ags, so the build I've been going is Mage Slayer Ags. You feel really strong if you get like pre 20-minute Mage Slayer Ags. You just insta kill supports. You're very disruptive in the fights. You're actually quite tanky with the double shield. And the hero feels like it's a feast or famine for sure, but it feels really strong. Queen of Pain. Well, actually, we'll skip on Queen of Pain for now. I think Primal is also quite situational right now. I think mostly an offlaner, but I would put him below Tiny and Void Spirit and Storm for heroes that just want to go in. And he also gets kind of griefed by Mage Slayer a decent amount. And you're a very committal hero, so it can be tough. But a lot of the new items do help you a bit. Like the Veil is very nice. Most people I've seen go like Blink Veil, BKB, pretty similar to like the Doom build. I think Invoker is either very high B or A tier. I think you can fit this hero into any draft pretty much. If you have all range heroes on your team, it's going to feel pretty bad. But if you have a normal offlaner, like even some like Centaur, Doom, Dragon Knight, just any guy with like a point click stun or an initiation tool, you're going to feel good even if one of your supports isn't that. You'd prefer to have a Tusk or something on your team, but this hero does well in like most lanes. You have multiple different builds you can go. Just very, very situational. Or not situational, very, very, very adaptable to situations. Lena, I think you picked this hero for fun. This hero is basically just a carry. And there isn't. I haven't seen a magic build in a while. Most people that pick this just buy Maelstrom and hit creeps, and they're just role playing as a carry. And this could be a viable strat in like lower MMR, I think, but like conceptually, it's just not good to play that way for mid for a long time now. You want to just be active on the map or counter pick the like. Say they pick Ember and they want to move around the map, be active. They're a spirit hero. You either want to lock them down by beating them so bad in lane they have to spend time recovering, or you just want to do that. So yeah, Lena can kind of win some lanes, but you don't win it hard enough to stop the heroes that want to move around from moving. And without a very high paced magic build, you can't really be like a hybrid type of thing. Wind Ranger, very situational. I don't know exactly what matchups I would pick Wind Ranger in right now, but there's definitely some carry heroes that just don't like playing against it. I think like Lena could be a pretty good example of like a hero, like these range heroes that don't like getting focus fired and having wind run BKB on them, like they can't fight them back. Classically, people used to pick Wind Ranger versus Terrorblade for the same reason. You just have like Maelstrom or Glipnir, BKB, and Windrun. You just run at him and he just dies from full HP. Yeah, Leshrak's another one of those heroes that if there's a very high priority target core that needs to sit in front to do damage or like hold in place, like even something like a Medusa, if you can just sit there hitting her, it makes it really hard for them, especially if they can't fight you back. I think Timber, I don't know if I want to put him in B or A. I haven't seen it that much. I've heard that this hero is very, very strong, and maybe I'll have a better idea by the time I do another tier list, but I just can't see it being like an any game hero. I think it's solid that you can pick it in most games and be fine, but you do kind of want to be against a melee hero. And that limits a lot of your options, I think. Maybe it's fine against certain range heroes. I'm not a Timber specialist, so that'd just be something to know. Unfortunately, I forgot to put Huskar on the side too, but Huskar is also B. I think that Unless you're specifically against like Puck, maybe. I can't think of a single mid hero that like you would pick blind into where you're like, well, we lost. I picked Huskar. And a lot of the times you can pick this hero blind and they picked Ember because Ember's in every game. Or they picked like if Puck is banned, right? Like what are they gonna pick? Oh, they pick even if they pick Invoker, I'm pretty sure you can win that lane. Oh, they picked Storm, or they picked Void Spirit, or they picked Tiny, or like there's so many heroes that you can probably do pretty well against. And the hero itself is just so strong at being counter meta. Like all these heroes want to get uninterrupted farm until level 6, 7, or 8 mid, and then just roam around the map getting kills. And you just don't let them have uninterrupted farm, and you don't let them get to 6, 7, or 8 without like a couple minutes extra of time usually. Keeper of the Light. I don't know. I feel like people kind of pick this hero like purely for the vessel, and there's some better vessel heroes. Keeper feels like in the right game unbeatable, but a lot of the time just kind of meh. Like you give the guy you're laning against a free lane a lot of the time, and the most annoyed I've been against a Caudle is probably playing Lina mid. It feels really miserable. Like being outranged is basically what happens. Like if you're a magic hero and you're getting outranged, it feels bad. Same thing why I used to like playing Zeus against Drow Ranger, for example, because Drow like wants to kite people and sit in the back, and Zeus just nukes you from 2 screens away. It's like if you can have the range advantage, it's really annoying. We already grabbed Tinker and Puck. OD, I think like I'm just gonna put this in the fun tier. I can't win on this hero. I don't know if it's me. The win rate's not too great on the pro tracker. It's just kind of a normal hero. It looks really fun to play with Parasma and Pike, but like a lot of other heroes do that build a little better, it feels like. And maybe the matchups just aren't good right now either, but it just kind of doesn't feel good. I don't know how to put words into it. Like you feel like you don't have enough range to hit some of the other heroes. You feel like there's a lot of mage slayers and silences and stuff around, and just kind of annoying. TAs also, you pick this hero kind of for fun. There's like one matchup, and it's probably Puck. Like if you can pick TA against Ember or Puck, you're not in too bad shape, or Void Spirit. The Shard will be very, very good timing in the game to kill those heroes with the long silence. But really, like there's better heroes to pick against Ember and Void Spirit, like we talked about. Like you could just pick Timbersaw, or you could just pick Huskar or Monkey King, right? And be a little more active earlier. It's very out of meta to pick heroes that have like 15-minute timings in the mid lane right now. Monkey King, just situational hero. I think this hero is just unequivocally worse than Huskar in the way you want to pick him, but he does have his place. I think that if you have supports that can play really fast on the map, it's almost better to pick Monkey King versus Ember than Huskar. Whereas if you have a draft that just wants to buy time, so like you have a good carry that needs like time in the early game, or your side lanes are strong and they don't want to get roamed on, then all of a sudden Huskar becomes like a really good. But if you need a mid hero to play like around with your supports, and they have a hero you can counter mid, Monkey King will be much better. Did I put Monkey King on twice? I don't think so. Oh, I did. Whoopsie. This is messing with me. Keep in mind, I've usually done it on the website, so I don't know how I got that twice. I think maybe it was a start. My bad. Thanks for pointing that out. Magnus, I think this is a pick for fun hero. I think if you're very good at Magnus, you can move this up a whole tier or two. Like if you've played a lot of Magnus, I think the hero can be a lot better. But as far as this patch, it's not really worth getting like dabbling into or like learning on your own. It definitely can feel good and strong, but it's more about your ability on the hero than the hero's ability right now. Pangolier, I think we're finally at a point where like Pango's just not as good as he used to be. I think he's like B minus or C plus. Earth Spirit 10,000 match hero. I don't think you pick Earth Spirit in mid anymore. The reason why Earth Spirit fell off the face of the earth is just simply because you can't roll from fog on somebody and then roll again before they TP out. So being able to catch heroes as a core is much worse. You're kind of just a setup hero instead of like a solo kill hero now. Lone Druid, we're gonna put this in the 10,000 game hero. It got some nerfs and it's not too popular on my server at least. Primal just a better Earth Spirit. They're not the same. Earth Spirit wants to play like super fast and aggro, and so does Primal. But the way they do it is differently. Like Earth Spirit still plays around his ulti and kind of the vessel a lot of the time. Like if you need a vessel hero, you have three options. The Earth Spirit patch, you get to pick Invoker with a vessel, or Caudle with a vessel, or Earth Spirit with a vessel. And Earth Spirit plus Grimstroke was a combo that patch. Primal plus Earth Spirit was a combo that patch. And Primal doesn't do well against those heroes like Morphling. You know, he doesn't do as well. Those heroes a heal. He doesn't have a silence. He does do a fuckload of damage, but Earth Spirit goes even in more mid lanes, and he's more like escapable and like mobile on the map in some cases. You can jump. Like the thing about Earth Spirit is you can roll from fog and put the rock like halfway through your roll, so that they don't hear it right away. Whereas if you try to cue someone for max range on Primal, they hear you. They just run away. So there are some like definite benefits to Earth Spirit. I don't think Shaker mid is all that good right now. I could throw it in there. It'd mostly be like only to pick against Ember Spirit, I think. Yeah, Primal can farm. Earth Spirit doesn't really farm neutral, so it's another distinction. You're not going to farm Ancients at level 7 on Earth Spirit, but you definitely could on Primal if you really wanted to. Leshrac, I'm going to throw in B. I think this hero could definitely be A. I actually think it got buffed a lot, and we'll see. I think it's getting picked at Dream League a decent amount too, from what I've been told. But it remains to be seen. So I think Mage Slayer is still a very big problem for Leshrac, and the Bloodstone change obviously hurt him a lot. But he's received a decent amount of buffs. Eternal Shroud's actually very good for Leshrac too. And it could be that like he's much stronger than I think he is. Like I think he's A or C, but I'm gonna put him in B because it's average. Lesh was carried by Bloodstone, but it's not that big of a deal right now. There are other builds you can do, and the other buffs he's received help a lot. Like they buffed the Edict a bunch, I think. They buffed the mana cost on his ult. They added a little bit of mana regen to Bloodstone. The Eternal Shroud is an insane item for Leshrac as well. Kunkka, unfortunately, I think you pick for fun now. They nerfed the shit out of his Aghanims. Blade Mail Heart's not meta anymore. It doesn't have a very good build. Yada, yada, yada. Viper, we're going to throw up in the Herald Superstar division. These are like the two most complained about heroes to me when I coach people. Is how do I beat Sniper mid? How do I beat Viper mid? I'm 2k MMR. These heroes are impossible to beat. These are the heroes you want to play if you want to win in low MMR. Trust me. Queen, we're gonna put in C tier. I think it could be higher, but I'm not exactly sure. I was mostly picking this hero to counter Meepo, and then Meepo got nerfed, kind of, and it's like it hasn't been as popular. Like the Aghanims build absolutely clowns Meepo. I did not see Dazzle mid today, no. Death Prophet, between D and C, like probably C minus, D plus. I can't see myself wanting to play Death Prophet over the other traditional like lane stomper heroes, but there has been some cool builds with like Parasma and stuff that I've seen. So maybe it's not the worst, but just not that great. I think Meepo is I'm gonna put him down here, but I think he is still like A or S tier even. And then I know that the win rate doesn't necessarily reflect. This is gonna the big. Okay, well we lost him. This is the big S tier hero of the patch and last patch. I don't think the Mage Slayer nerfs were enough for him. Um, this hero has some of the worst counter matchups mid, like in the game. Like there's so many heroes that are supposed to just beat him out of the game, and I think you could pick this hero first and still have like a 53% win rate or something. Like if you last pick this hero, it feels like cheating. Um, if you don't get a matchup where you're literally just eating burning spears over and over again, the game feels like really easy to win. All the items just benefit him so much. The Maelstrom buff, the Glipnir buff, the Shiva's buff, the Mage Slayer. Ember Spirit's a complete joke. And then, we did add Necro for last. We'll just throw him in the D tier. You can play that hero against Ember, and that's probably about it. Or if you're just trying to have a good time. But I think that's the list for 7.35C. Don't think too much has changed since the last patch, but there are some new faces. So I thought I would have an update. I think this patch was decently significant. Like we don't even have Meepo and S tier anymore. I think he did get a decent amount of nerfs. I will be playing Leo. Just trying to finish the tier list here. We had a Q penalty. But yeah, thanks for watching the tier list, guys. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Bob's your uncle.